Marvel, has officially cranked its marketing machine up to full power just like in the No Way Home era, and is slowly leaking trailers one after another. First Cap in frankly weak quality, and now Spider-Man 4, together with Thor. In the next couple of minutes, we will of course break it all down, but first a small clarification. Friends, the video will use footage including generated material, but not because we made up the trailer, but because Marvel takes down all videos across all social networks with footage even in poor quality due to copyright. If you cannot find the teasers, that does not mean we are lying. Search better or ask for advice in the comments where to look. And even better, like the video and get ready to learn that Sadie Sink will indeed be the villain of Spider-Man 4. Theories about Mayday Parker seem to have crashed against the leaked trailer, because in it, Sadie Sink's character tells Spider-Man directly not to stand in her way, and then comes a phrase that changes everything. Not only your friends will forget who Peter Parker is, and this phrase is of course extremely interesting. The fact that Sadie will still play the villain is now clear. After all, it is unlikely that Marvel would introduce Tom Holland's new girlfriend in the trailer through such an open threat. In the next Avengers, apparently several teams will gather at once: the Thunderbolts, the Fantastic Four, Loki's team, and the X-Men. But why on earth does Sadie's character know Spider-Man's secret identity? This is of course a mystery. Option 1. Sadie Sink's character found out Spidey's secret already after the beginning of the events of the fourth part. The trailer actually opens with an address by Peter Parker, where he briefly describes the events of No Way Home. To whom Parker is speaking is unclear, but by the tone it seems like to Ned or MJ. Marvel could set everything up as if Peter recorded a message, did not dare to send it, and it somehow fell into the hands of Sadie Sink's character. The theory works, but it's a stretch. It is kind of strange to reveal Spidey's secret identity right in the very next film and build the whole plot on this. Therefore, on Reddit, they believe more in the second option. Doctor Strange's memory wiping spell worked on whom? Exactly only on the inhabitants of the main Marvel universe. So commentators predict that Sadie Sink is playing someone from the multiverse. The most popular option is still Shathra, a multiversal villainess capable of changing her appearance and literally feeding on Spider-Man, for which essentially she travels across the multiverse. If you remember the old cartoons and comics about Spider-Man, then you surely heard about Morlun. Well, Shathra is by and large the same thing, only stronger. Although technically the Mayday Parker option does not fall away either. So what if she threatens Spidey in the trailer? It happens to everyone? Considering that Sadie Sink's appearance is confirmed in Secret Wars, they will make her at least a recurring villain or even an anti-hero. The confirmed news does not mesh very well with Shathra, especially if you look at the other aspects of the trailer. After all, they are strictly street level. Firstly, Spidey runs into the Punisher, who claims that he is saving his life. Secondly, that very scene with the tank chase flashes by. And thirdly, Peter fights with ninjas from the Hand Clan. They were not named by name, but the trailer recreated the cover of the comic book, New Avengers number 27, almost one-to-one, where the Hand Clan attacked in a crowd in red suits just like that. In general, the whole atmosphere of the trailer is strictly grounded street level, exploding and shooting. Intuitively, one wants to state that we are all blowing Sadie Sink's role out of proportion, and in the end she will get someone like Black Cat or even Electro. But who knows, Sony after all wanted to make the film multiversal, and despite the fact that Kevin Feige's point of view won some aspects of the multiverse, could have reached the final version too, together with Mark Ruffalo, who has finally returned to the cinematic universe. In the trailer, Peter Parker comes to him for help, and we learn that Bruce Banner firstly lives in human form, and secondly is a professor at a university, and asks Peter if he is a student. Considering that Banner is some sort of expert on the multiverse, Spidey could have come to him for help precisely on this matter. Although we will not guess once again, and it's better to talk about something else. Why the hell is Banner in human form again? In She-Hulk, he invented an inhibitor, blocking the Hulk to heal his arm. But then She-Hulk helped with this, and Bruce sort of returned to the image of Smart Hulk again and became a father. In the Spidey trailer, he is human again, and Marvel's decision to ignore the events of She-Hulk is on the one hand understandable, but on the other still confusing. And we hope that a logical explanation will be found for this, as well as for Banner's next transformation into a creature smashing everything in its path. This will definitely happen in the film. And if we believe the latest news, we will see a new gray version of the Hulk, the one that they plan to introduce in Age of Ultron as the most insane and uncontrollable one. There, Joss Whedon wanted the Hulk to turn gray under the influence of the Scarlet Witch and go completely off the rails. Here, the concept will apparently remain the same. True, what will cause another fit of uncontrollable rage and Banner is still unclear. The most logical option is the villainous Sadie Sink, but this is not certain yet. What is certain is that the appearance of the Hand Clan in a Spidey movie, well, you just cannot imagine it without the one who constantly fights the Hand Clan in comics and movies. We are talking, of course, about Daredevil, who on top of everything else has already appeared in the Spidey franchise, and he is settled in the cinematic universe quite firmly. Even though Charlie Cox denies his participation, it looks like an epic team-up of the Punisher, Spidey, and Daredevil awaits us after all. Well, as for other details of the trailer, there are not so many of them. It is visible that Spidey, as predicted, drags out a miserable existence but hangs in there and tries to combine studies and fighting crime. Now about the graphics, which look simply nightmarish in the leak. Of course, one cannot say much about the quality, but the nuance is precisely that in the leaked trailer, the graphics are unfinished. However, the Spidey flying through the city is finished, and consequently, these are indeed practical effects. And unlike No Way Home, the fourth part will be much sharper. Well, and we are moving on to Doomsday. Their audio of the second teaser dedicated to Thor was leaked, and in it, the God of Thunder utters the following prayer to Odin: "Of all crowns, all kingdoms, and all pride, I ask for nothing. Father, hear your son. I am not worthy of life, but still I pray to thee, extend this thread, not for the sake of thunder, not for the sake of war. Let me live long enough to see my love one more time." And this is very interesting because Thor is obviously mentioning his daughter, whom he dreams of seeing one more time. A child also flashed in the teaser with Steve Rogers. And of course in the scene after the credits of the Fantastic Four. And there Dr. Doom literally came for Franklin. Does the same fate await Cap and Thor? Everything points to that, since Thor's prayer sounds as if his love has already been taken away, which gives us a clear understanding of the backbone of the Doomsday plot. It seems Doom's family died due to the Avengers' antics in Endgame, and he is paying the superheroes back in kind. This is a serious shift in Marvel's priorities. After all, if Infinity War was an epic about survival, then here the stakes look very personal. Well, and the fact that the multiverse might also get hit is generally somewhere in the background, which, considering the quality of the multiverse saga, is probably logical. Well, and Thor, judging by the teaser, has finally forgotten the clownery of the times of Love and Thunder, and to a lesser extent Ragnarok. His monologue is frankly Shakespearean, which harkens back to the earlier images of the God of Thunder, the ones that are even more serious than Infinity War. Here it is difficult to judge whether this is good or bad. We personally believe that the Russo brothers had little choice. And since we have seen enough of clown and semi-clown, in the face of danger, Thor will be shown as brutal this time. What do you think? Write in the comments. And we are moving on to heated discussions on the net. Anthony Mackie's accounts on social networks are under attack. Part of the fans is mocking the actor who, after 5 years of torment in the image of Cap, was simply written off, and Steve Rogers was brought back. And a part expresses support for Mackie and believes that Marvel acted as unfairly as possible. With the release of part of Thor's teaser, the situation became even worse, because besides Mackie, now they are worried about absolutely all characters of the multiverse saga. They, like Mackie, were pushed to the second and third plan, and the old guard will be running things in Doomsday. There are already timid calls to boycott the film, but here one cannot call the situation anything other than madness. Firstly, Anthony Mackie is still the official Captain America, and in the comics, together with Steve Rogers in such a hierarchy, they survived hundreds of stories. Secondly, Thor, unlike Steve and Tony, did not go anywhere from Marvel at all, remaining the main hero of the franchise. Well, and thirdly, Mackie was given the opportunity to prove himself in a solo film, and everyone remembers what came of that. The only truly real reason for criticism is that the same old faces are running the show. Endgame was positioned as the full end of the story of the original team, and now it is a prologue film for Doomsday. As a result, both the division of Marvel into neat sagas with smaller phases, and generally any of their promises turned into a failure. Now, if the studio promises that Secret Wars will definitely be the end, no one will believe it anymore. This is where the main risk to reputation lies, against which the golden age of printed comics crashed in its time. There too was a situation where it was impossible to raise the stakes endlessly, and they had to revive heroes, rewrite the past, and devalue events. But the comics succeeded thanks to alternative universes, periodic relaunches, and retroactive expansion of the canon. This is the key task of the Russo brothers: to do everything so that Doomsday looks not like patching holes in an attempt to earn money, but the beginning of something new and logical, considering that the Russos in interviews literally call Secret Wars not the end but the beginning. It seems that the directors understand this, and we have nothing to worry about. And what do you think? Do you not feel a devaluation of Endgame due to the fact that Doomsday has become its continuation? How do you like the Spider-Man trailer? And why did Dr. Doom turn against Steve Rogers so much? Share your predictions and opinion in the comments. And that is all we have for now. Until next time, friends.